the team is by far the most important, because the plan that you have when you start a business, and again, we've seen thousands of business plans. If you look at the plan that we receive, it's well thought out, people are smart, but 3 years down the road, there's not much left of the initial plan. They're doing something different, selling it differently with different competitors, different features that you initially thought. So you have to be smart to adapt. And that's the thing we're looking for, intelligence to adapt, because the assumptions you have when you start something need to be tested by talking to the market, talking to prospects, to potential employees, to partners, even competitors, partners. All these things you have to do and test your assumptions all the time.
Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Peter.
How are you?
Considering everything, doing really well, thank you. The sun is shining.
Yes. Now, considering everything, that's actually my first question. I mean, what is the impact for you as an investor in Volta? What is the impact of Corona on your work, on the investments that you're doing?
Yeah. Well, like everybody else, we're working from home, so we don't meet people face to face anymore, which is normally pretty important to get a good relationship with people, because when you invest in a startup, you invest in people, you want to meet them face to face. So that's gone. Fortunately, tools like this, Zoom, help a lot. But then secondly, for the existing portfolio, for practically all startups, with a few exceptions, it's a very difficult period. So we're spending quite some time on the existing portfolio to see how much runway they have, what the impact is on sales and the team. And so that has taken quite some time. For the rest, on new companies, startups that want to present themselves to us, that keeps on going. So there's still new startups. The pace has slowed a little bit. You have to know we see over 2,000 companies a year, and we still see new startups coming up. So for the old portfolio, it's everybody is struggling. Not all sectors, of course. Telehealth, we have 1 or 2 companies in telehealth. They're doing better now than ever. We have 1 company active on financial markets. There's a lot of activity on financial markets, so they're doing even better than before. So it's not all gloom and doom, but for most companies, the impact has been pretty heavy.
And pretty heavy impact. So that really means they're not selling what they have budgeted or targeted, and that's the selling has slowed down, or it's sometimes reduced to practically zero, or how do I have to see that?
Selling has slowed down.
Okay.
And it's across the range that, from 1 or 2 companies that have gone up dramatically to 1 or 2 companies where new sales has practically stopped.
Okay.
So there are sectors like sectors that are active in events, work, marketing. These sectors have been especially hard hit.
Okay. Interesting.
Travel is totally a nightmare. Fortunately, we don't have any travel companies, but there's a lot of activity in travel, hotel management software, property management software, stuff like that. They have been especially hard hit.
Okay. Now, after Corona, which is of course really difficult to predict, what do you think that, I wouldn't say on the long term, what do you think from your point of view, from Volta, from your personal view, also for VC land in general, what will have changed or transformed? Do you think I'm pretty sure there will be a huge impact, but do you think we're going to do more of this? Because you say we have to meet the people, and I'm also a people person, but I've also learned that we're doing this call right now, which actually was planned physically. But my experience is that, and it's not the same, but you can get pretty close in terms of exchanging ideas, etc. Of course, it's getting better when you actually have a relationship like we do, because we know each other for quite some time. But what do you think after Corona, the world, from your point of view, in VC land would look like?
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, we have known one another for quite some time. So meeting face to face or on video, the difference is limited. It's more fun to see in person because you're an enthusiastic person. So it's more fun to see in person than on the screen. But we go back a long time. So, but if you want, if I were to meet you for the first time, okay, I'd rather meet you face to face to see how you act, behave, respond to certain issues. So the face to face thing is that being said, I worked in the States 2 years ago, and people are more used to doing calls and video calls in the States because the distance is simply too big. Here in Belgium, we're used, everything is nearby basically. It's a little region, so you can travel all the time. Perhaps we have overdone that, and I expect there to be much more video conferences than we've seen in the past. I think that will be a positive, reducing traffic and the waste of time by sitting in your car, which you can fill by doing some calls, but still that, I think we're going to be more effective in that.
Yeah, I also believe that.
As to long-term impacts on Corona, I've been a VC for 20 years. I started in 2000. The year after, we started in 2000, we were hit by the dot-com bubble. A few months after we started, that's when we met. End of 2000. So then there was a dot-com bubble, so everything collapsed. A year later, it was 9/11, 2001. Then we had the financial crisis of 2008 and 9. And now we have another one, but this one is bigger. This one is bigger. It will be more impactful, but we will get back to normal. When is a good question, but we will get back to normal.
Do you think that the old normal, I don't think there's going to be, the new normal is not going to be the same as the old normal. I don't think we're going to go back at the same normal that we have known.
Probably not. I see, because of what has happened, increased importance and attention to people that make the world run. And to be frank, it's not you and I that make the world run. It's people that pick up the garbage here just half an hour ago. It's people in hospitals. It's people that work in food, supermarkets. They make the world run. And I think, hopefully, that heightened appreciation for these people will stay. And I hope as long as possible.
But I also think that if you look, but it's of course this is just an assumption or a feeling or whatever you want to call it. But if I look back 20 years ago, when we were together, I mean, especially in Belgium and Europe, being a startup was actually a negative thing. That was, I wouldn't call it for the losers, but like since 5 to 10 years, it's being like a rock star working in startup. Whereas 20 years ago, you were like the special, you're crazy, you have to work for a corporate. And so this also means that everybody now is looking to cash out and to become the next millionaire. And there's nothing wrong with being a millionaire, but I really believe that things will change, that people are going to look more for a more purpose-driven job, way of living, where the money is a means but not the goal. And I also believe that companies are going to be more purpose-driven. I'm not saying all of them, but this also means that people also will be more purpose-driven, but also that the way you manage people, nowadays it's all about targets, and people are resources and parts of an Excel. And I think, and of course EBITDA is very important, but I also think there will be a certain shift, I believe.
I believe so too, and I'm hoping for that. But I'm a bit of a history buff. People have a tendency of getting back to the normal, and the normal is the normal you described as it was in the past. Unfortunately, hopefully some of it will stick, that we don't get back to the entire old normal.
But the talent, the most talented people, everybody will want them, and just money is no longer enough, especially especially the young ones. I had people here on the podcast, 23-year-old entrepreneurs, and they are talking about things 20 years ago when we met. I mean, I didn't talk about meditation or purpose or values or whatever. It was about let's get it in, let's do this, let's sell this. And it was about action and execution and real male energy. But these young guys, the young entrepreneurs, they are different.
You're right, that has changed, and you see that also in the freelance, because indeed 20 years ago when we started as a VC, or when we joined a startup, it was special. People, our parents said, what the hell are you doing? Working for a startup? Go work for a big company. That was 20 years ago. That has changed, but it has changed too much. It became, as you mentioned, too popular to be in a startup, because that's hot and sexy. So there has been, the last year or two, it has become a little bit extreme. You couldn't open a newspaper, they were talking about the next unicorn, as if that is the goal of being a company that is worth $1 billion. Indeed, purpose, in that regard, we've become a little bit too American, perhaps. But I think that will be one of the conclusions of Corona. Many unicorns have been hit especially hard.
Well, for me, it's the same. Like we share a similar love for 70s guitar music. As you know, I'm a musician also. I really play the guitar because I'm passionate about playing the guitar and being in a band, not because I want to be famous. Of course, I want to play. I want to play concerts, and it is a little bit a consequence of that, but it's not the end goal. I know people who are working or playing music or working for a startup just because they have the tag of I'm cool, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that for me the balance is a little bit too far, and I rather see more passionate people innovating, because like 20 years ago I really had the perception to really change the world in a certain technology. That was really, together with all my colleagues, that was really the passion, the purpose. That was, and then you can do extraordinary things. And I think for a startup, that's what you want.
Absolutely. And I think most startups have that passion. That has also changed since 20 years ago. People didn't know what they were starting. Now people are much better informed when they start a startup. There's plenty of blogs, there's plenty of people that have done it before that you read upon. So that has changed. Perhaps less naive and less money driven, also more purpose driven. It is more fun to have your own business.
Yeah, understand. Now, before you were a VC, you were actually in several sales management positions. What event triggered you to say, I'm going to become an investor in around 2000, and I'm not going to say stop selling, because I really believe, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, you're always selling. Now your audience has changed, but you're selling. So what triggered you to change? You hate being in a company as a sales manager or sales director or VP sales, and then you say, I'm going to become VC. How did that process happen?
Well, many things happen by accident. It's not as I had the idea, because 2 years before I became a VC, I even didn't know what a VC was. So, to be frank, so it was not that was my goal in life to become a VC.
Okay.
But I enjoyed working at startups. That was back in the 90s, before it was hot to be in a startup. I really enjoyed that. Moved to the Valley in 1999-2000 to help American software companies expand into Europe, and learned American style VC, Silicon Valley style VC, during the .com program. I found it very, very exciting, very, very interesting. I thought it was incredible. That didn't exist in Belgium at the time. So came back to Belgium, and there was an opportunity. We came back before the .com bubble burst. I bumped into another Belgian guy, Barend, who had spent 5 years in Boston, and together we set up Big Bang Ventures as a Silicon Valley style venture capital fund. So that's how we got started. And why doing VC? Because I saw how exciting it was in the States, because you get to meet passionate, smart people all day long, because that's our life. We meet people like you, startups, passionate people, intelligence people who want to do something new, super interesting. It's really, really exciting. And also then, as to personality is concerned, it is more fun for me because my attention span is sometimes a bit short. It's better to work with multiple entrepreneurs than doing one job for 5 years, being a sales manager for 5 years, I thought it was more fun to working with 5 or 6 or 7 companies.
Okay.
But that's a personality trait.
Okay. Now, if you look into your portfolio and also the companies who are coming to you, okay, now they know better how to create a better business plan. But what do you see as the biggest obstacle of these startups? Is it the marketing? Is it the idea? Is it the go-to-market strategy? Is it the selling? What do you see is like a common theme that you see? Is it the lack of not having the right combination of founders with complementary skills?
Everything that you just said, Peter.
Okay.
So it's complementary skills, correct. It is one important one. Too often we see two founders that are a copy of one another, and which is great, they get along fine, but they don't bring much to the table because they're copies of one another. It's better to have a more salesy-oriented product go-to-market person and a nerdy person together.
I really believe that the companies were together, which were transformed to an exit. I really believe that the tension between several people, and tension is a good way, having different opinions and having the guts to say no and argue without becoming personal. I really believed that is actually that was the way to move forward, and not having everybody is thinking the same, because that's not going to change the world, in my personal opinion.
Well, you're totally right. There are, like, for all my life, I've seen discussions between salespeople and product development people.
Yeah.
Salespeople, we need this and this and this feature. Yeah. Product development that says, no, there are other priorities and we don't have the time or the people. And that's a healthy discussion, because it forces the product development people to perhaps move faster, creating new features. And it motivates the salespeople to perhaps calm down a little bit, because there are limited resources in product development. So that's a debate I see all the time. And if that debate is not there, either product development or sales is not eager and hungry enough. So you have to have that debate at a healthy level.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So what you're actually saying is that it's great to have an idea and a business plan, but the team is actually the most important?
The team is by far the most important. Because the plan that you have when you start a business, and again, we've seen thousands of business plans. If you look at the plan that we receive, it's well thought out, people are smart, but 3 years down the road, there's not much left of the initial plan. They're doing something different, selling it differently with different competitors, different features that you initially thought. So you have to be smart to adapt. And that's the thing we're looking for, intelligence to adapt, because the assumptions you have when you start something need to be tested by talking to the market, talking to prospects, to potential employees, to partners, even competitors, partners. All these things you have to do and test your assumptions all the time. It's probably the most important thing. And that's something that we have improved on here in Europe, but we do too much desk research still. And it's best you just go out and test your assumption and test your pitch and test everything with the markets.
And what do you believe when you're a founder and you're not actually you're a technical background? And what would you hire first, a marketeer or a sales? And sales for me is really acquiring new business. I'm not looking for the farming type of sales, which are like 80% of the sales population. But what would you hire first, or what would you advise? Would you say to the founder, your first clients, you have to find them yourselves, and then you should hire a sales guy or girl?
Well, I'm assuming we're talking about enterprise software, where you need salespeople and not low-cost service that costs $5 or $10 a month, because then you don't use salespeople.
No,
you have to use marketing.
Marketing, correct.
But even then, the golden rule is that the founders need to sign up their first 10 customers themselves.
Okay. No.
First of all, only they know what they're selling best, because it's something they have an experience with, a passion about. So the best salespeople are the founders, definitely in the beginning. And they also need to confirm that there is a market for their product.
Yeah.
By hiring what I call a hired gun, because the salesperson is a hired gun, that person needs to be trained. And that person can only be trained by somebody who has done it, him or herself. So the first few customers, we expect the management team or the founders especially to sign them up themselves. And only after 5 or 10 customers, then think about recruiting a dedicated salesperson, because that salesperson will also need time to get acquainted with the market.
Because I sometimes see founders that they think some kind of salespeople are like magicians or like gods, and that they can sell everything to anybody. But I don't believe that's true. I mean, first you have that founder who has really, like you said, validate the markets and acquired some intelligence. And then you can reproduce that by a sales guy, which can scale that up, but not the other way around. As sometimes founders lay that part into the hands of a sales guy, but even the best sales can fail there.
Yeah, well, the really good salespeople are people that are very process driven. They can take a prospect by the hand to move them down the funnel to the next step until they sign. Founders typically are less experienced or have less sensitivity around these things. And a good salesperson moves a deal down the funnel to closing and calls upon the founders when it's really needed, when you need technical depth, product depth, marketing depth, competition, and you call upon the founders then. But the process is driven and is managed by a salesperson.
But a founder is actually really great in inspiring, and the first meeting, yes, the first meeting, and the prospect is enthusiastic, but there's no next step.
Yeah, it's all about the next step.
It's only about the next step.
The meeting have no use if there is not a next step.
Yeah.
There has to be a next step.
Yeah.
And good salespeople are very motivated. Okay, we've got this information, so what's the next step? And how do you move them down the funnel? Yeah.
But they start with the end in mind, eh?
Absolutely. And they also are very experienced in saying, no, I'm afraid I'm going to be wasting my time here in talking to this prospect because there is no real match between what I'm offering and what they're looking for. I just say no very quickly and spend your time on those prospects that potentially could become a good prospect, that have been better qualified.
But that's one of the hardest lessons. I mean, you can say it's very easy to say that, but when you're in a situation where there's not a lot of deals and you're really testing the market, you need also money. It's that's a very challenging one, of course.
It is very difficult.
It's and that's a kind of sixth sense that you have to really feel where to put your time in. Because it's not about money, it's real where I'm going to put my intention and time in, because the sales can only focus on a limited amount of deals.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, go on.
No, when I was a salesperson, I ran the distributorship of a British software company for the Benelux. And the first 3-4 months, we didn't sign anything, but we just started. The sales cycles were 6 to 9 months. And so after the month 5, I had for the next month 1 prospect that I was going to close, the month after 2, and so on. And head office says, well, Frank, you're not doing very well because your forecast is very, very limited. And after a year, he said it again. He said, but look at my closing ratio. I only forecast 1 or 2 deals a month, but I close them.
Yeah.
And I said, in Sweden, they forecast 10 each month, 20, but they close 0. So what do you prefer? A great forecast or a great closing?
Yeah.
And so, but that's also what I try to impress on salespeople. You can only oversell your forecasts so many times before people see that you're not qualifying them very well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Qualification is key, and predictability. It's like what you said. A lot of people, the non-sales people, they want to see the big Excels with the big numbers, and what you see is it's like in qualification phase or in proposal phase, and it skips quarter after quarter after quarter, and whereas you need to really focus on, okay, you have like a 30% closing rate. To really go up and really search every step and every part of the process in order to get to an 80 or 90%. I mean, for me, I have 90% closing on my proposals because I'm a lazy person. I'm like, no, I'm not going to make a proposal unless
you're a focused person.
Yeah, of course, it's being effective. I'm saying a little bit negative, but that's it. It's all about being focused. because it's really about also that paradigm. It's about working hard and working long hours, and it's really a myth, because it's taking away your energy. And if you don't have energy anymore, you can't be enthusiastic, you cannot connect with other people, and then you're working on lots of things. And especially the non-sales, they like that for on the board and the Excels, because the slideshow is then full. It's like you said, it's better to have 3 deals and to have really that predictability, and they know, yes, we're going to close this, and these are the resources that we need in order to close this. Otherwise, I mean, if you still, you know the situation, working on deals where you put the whole company on it, and then the deal is blocked, frozen, or delayed, or whatever, and you keep doing that over and over again, I mean, I really think you're losing your credibility.
Absolutely.
And that's, for me, the biggest thing, besides, of course, listening for a salesperson, is really that mental resilience to really cope with that insecurity, that inner dialogue from, okay, we're going to make it, we're not going to make it. And that's where, I mean, selling one deal is easy, but to keep that going, to stay motivated and positive and passionate, that is the challenge I really find.
Yeah.
Now you have been a seller. You are selling also right now in order to get money from your investors. You also have to sell Volta, I believe, to your portfolio companies.
Absolutely.
Because 20 years ago there were not a lot of people, VCs, but nowadays, also founders can select VCs that they want to work together. What do you what do you like? What does the word selling mean to you? Because for a lot of people it's negative. It's really about when you don't have a job and you don't know what to do, you go into sales.
Yeah, but sales is quite difficult. But selling is, first of all, it's qualification. Is there a match? Is what I'm offering something that other person is looking for? Is there a match? And do they tick all the boxes to become a company we invest in, or a customer, or whatever? So that's one of the first things you need to learn. Also, then the part of qualification is saying no. I don't think there's a fit. I don't think we're a match. Let's just, not waste one another's time. Let's just move on to the next.
Okay.
So wait, I forgot your question again. So everything is about selling. So also.
What is your definition of selling? Yeah.
Selling is, first of all, qualifying. Do I have something that I want to offer for somebody who can need it? And secondly, how do I convince is perhaps not the right words, but how do I give the other party sufficient comfort that what I have to offer is something that could bring value to them?
It's more influencing, eh?
It is more influencing.
Yeah.
You have to demonstrate that you're knowledgeable about what you're doing and that you're professional in moving the process forward. That's for me is selling.
And do you believe that, of course, with all the technology nowadays, social media, that selling, and I really mean now for a startup acquiring new business, it's more difficult than 20 years ago? Or is it easier?
It's a good question. 20 years ago, if you were a good salesperson, you stood out because there was not a lot of processes and methodologies. It was still somewhat amateuristic. Today, there's more processes, there's more handbooks, there's more how-to blogs and stuff like that. So in that regard, the bar has increased. People have become more professional. Also, software has helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I remember 20 years ago, 25 years ago when I started, I did my CRM. It didn't exist CRM. I did it in Excel.
Mm-hmm.
And people said, why are you putting all your prospects and your steps and your phases in an Excel? I said, well, it helps me keep the overview. People had books in the old days. So technology, only CRM, and there's so many more tools these days, have made it much, much, much more professional. So it's more difficult to stand out these days.
Yeah, because I mean, it's an interesting thing that you mentioned about having technology and there is more a process. But I also think that's a trap. I think a lot of youngsters, and we're young, but I mean, young, like when you're in the 20s, they think this is the technique I'm going to use, value-based selling or challenger selling or whatever the term I'm going to buy.
Predictable revenue book.
Yeah, whatever.
You're right. If you're looking at deals that have a low deal value up to a few €100 per month, then you have to use these techniques to the maximum, basically.
Yeah.
If you're selling something that has a higher value, a few 10,000s a month, then the people impact is very significant. You have to interact, you have to understand what the other person is looking for and what you can offer. And technology can help and substantially helps and makes lives easier and more effective. But it's not by just indeed following the book or a manual that you're going to sell. You still need to have a value proposition.
Yeah, that's
you have to articulate for your prospects. And you can't find it in a book what your value proposition is, what the decision makers are in a company, what the budgets are, what your approvals are, and all these things. That's something that's personal interaction. As you mentioned, the low value and the high value, it's a totally different system. The low value has to rely by a very large degree to automated processes.
Yeah.
The high value, it's still people.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you see. People see selling as just and one thing. No, you have to really look in the specifics, and then.
And the most important thing in selling is how can I help my prospect?
Yeah, that's it. And
because also I'm fundraising. I've also been fundraising. I ask my investors, what do you need from me for you to convince your decision makers, and can I help you write out the investment proposal? I'll write it for you. You just change it wherever you want, but I'll do the work for you because I'm the best person to sell my product, which is a fund these days. Nobody else can sell it as well as I can, which is typical. So you do the writing for them. Plus these people have other projects next to my projects, because that's also a fallacy of some salespeople. They think, many startups also think the sun rises and sets upon my products. And why doesn't everybody drop everything to talk to me? But people at large organizations are working on 20 projects. Are you just one of the 20 projects? So how do you get the attention? Is by doing a lot of the work for them. That's selling. Well, it's an example. Very often I'm asked, and I happily do that, can you introduce me to somebody? And then that's it. I said, I'm happy to do so. But can you please send me an email that I can forward that says who you are, what you do, and why you want to get into contact these people? I have we discussed it, but I have other things to do, and nobody else can write that email as good as you can. So send me something I can forward. And that's laziness or naivety, because selling is giving the other person the information they need to do the selling for you. And that's something I see very often. Can you introduce me to both?
Now, if you would go back and you're going to meet the Frank of 18 years old or young, he's just entering the door of university. What are the one thing or the two things that you would say to him? Look, I've taken a DeLorean and I'm back from the future. These are the things, don't make these stupid things or the lessons, I would say. What are the things that you would say to
Well, personally, I leave that alone.
Okay.
I have learned over the years. Going back, in all honesty, if I look back when I was 18, I was simply clueless how the world looked like. So look where I am today, where I was at 18. I have been very fortunate to stumble into a number of opportunities at the right time, because people that say, I'm very successful because this and that, but a lot is also luck, being the right person at the right time with the right product, and timing is a lot. So what would I change?
Not to change advice, eh? What would you advise to your 80-year-old? Take, for instance, your son. What would you say to your 80-year-old son? Look, from your dad, I know you have to experience yourself, but
try a few things.
Okay.
because you have no idea what you want to do at 18. So try a few things. And until 27, 28, it doesn't, 30, it doesn't really matter. If you try a few things, around 30 should, 25, 30 should know what you want to do in life. But before that, just try a few things. Learn about selling.
So you advise everybody to learn about selling.
Everybody. At the end of the day, everything is selling.
Yeah.
How do you convince somebody to go along with you?
Yeah.
To recruit you, to do a project with you, to buy something from you? It's all selling.
Yeah.
It's all selling. And not in the negative American way by everything is huge and fantastic. That's not what I mean. But what arguments and what processes can you use to move what you want to achieve in life forward? That's how I define selling.
Now I'm going to go a little deeper, a little more personal. I mean, you just mentioned the word success. Does the definition of success change, transformed in all the years? If you look what success mean to you, like a lot of money when you were, I don't know, 25, and now when you're 50 plus?
Success should not be measured in money.
Did you have that same definition also when you're 25?
When you're younger, you're more driven because you want to buy a house.
A house and success and a title and a big car. And
you want a title. So when you're young, you want a car, a house, and a title. Yeah, everybody goes through that phase. But after a while, you see it's not that important. You want to be healthy, especially in these days. You want to be healthy. You want your family to be healthy. You want your family to be happy. I think those are the more important things in life.
We have worked in a company where also the founders, they worked day and night, and it was, that was normal. Did that change over time? Or is it still the same?
No, because like I know you and like I know many other people, successful people, if I look at myself, work, I enjoy the intellectual challenge to get through the day and help companies and go fundraising and move things forward. I don't call that work. Work is something that you have to do when you don't really enjoy it, when you have to make an effort. Yes. Sometimes you have to make an effort, but most of the time. And I see that with many I'm fortunate to be working with many successful people.
Oh, there's a voicemail.
Sorry. So I know quite a few people of 60 plus, 70 plus successful entrepreneurs where you say, my God, they have everything. Why? Because they crave the intellectual challenge. Okay. They love getting up and, okay, what's the next problem I have to tackle today? So.
But you have to protect them sometimes? Do you have to protect sometimes? Are they for themselves because they're pushing it too far? Or?
Yes, some people do that. I have also done that, but then a few quite successful people say, why do you still work so hard? They say, what else? What else am I going to do? Sit in my, watch television at night?
Okay, but there is you have to work hard. I mean, we're not talking here about the 9-to-5 mentality. I mean, I'm talking here about going so far that that you're exhausting your body. I've also done it. I mean,
that's not smart, but that's the risk, of course, of overdoing it.
And that's the lesson
also. You always need to go sporting.
Yeah, sporting. Now, something different. I mean, I remember 20 years ago, one of your idols. I'm not talking here about Pink Floyd or Queen. Was the guys from I don't know the names anymore, but they called Kleiner Perkins.
Yeah.
Now, who are your role models? Where are the people that you look up to? So don't name any David Gilmour, but from a more professional. But you can, but.
The professional idols, you mean?
Yeah.
In those days, Kleiner Perkins was the venture capital funds.
But today,
basically everything. The guys I say, well, look up to. The Showpad guys have created a great company.
So you have regrets that you didn't invest in that?
We did with the previous ones. Invested in them. The guy you are working for, Peter. Jonas.
Yeah.
Awesome guy. I think that's incredible.
It's
He's
amazing.
Mid-30s and widely successful, but still very, how would I say, down to earth.
Humble, eh? He's
very modest and humble.
He's like that, eh?
That's a true role model.
Rare.
The two founders of Crypto-Pay, Jurgen Ingels, Michel Akkermans. Michel I work with very closely. He's had two very successful exits and still works day and night, in the weekends, at night. The guy is never off, he's always on. And I think I admire all people that start a startup. But again, I'm being very professional, but I have to say these days, during Corona,
yeah,
I look with admiration to the guy that just picked up my garbage, which people forget. But at the end of the day, if they're not there, we have a big problem.
You've known lots of successes, but I also believe, and it's the same for me, you had also some failures or some lessons. I prefer to call them lessons because that's what they are for. What are the things that you have encountered that you think, damn, that was not good, something you invested in that didn't went well, or bad decision, or I don't know, something that you are aware of right now?
Well, I've been divorced, so that's not smart.
The same for me. Yeah.
But it's very often also situational. Working with the co-founder, where this is probably not going to work out, but I'm going to make it work, and at the end of the day, it doesn't work out. So perhaps you have to be more honest. And
is that because you knew it from your gut, your intuition, that was not a click, but you say in your head, let's do it, let's make it happen?
Yes.
And afterwards you say, shit.
Yes, I've done that, and I think many people do that. So probably you need to be more honest with yourself and say, let's not do this. So those situations, you invest in companies that don't work out, but sometimes it's because of the team, but very often it's not because of the team. We've invested in a few companies where it didn't work out, but I would happily work again with the team.
Okay.
But the market was wrong, the timing was wrong, the competition was different. Some of the market assumptions that we made also proved to be wrong. So but those are the normal mistakes I would say you make. I think one mistake I also made once was own the distributorship in the Benelux. We sold it to the group company, and I left without informing the team that was going to leave, because I didn't want to work for a large organization. I like startups, and I was going to leave. I didn't inform the team of that, so that was a big mistake. And also before I left, I also found my successor who didn't prove to be the right guy, so that was a huge mistake I made.
Okay.
They should have implicated the team when I was thinking about leaving, but I was very wrongly thinking, they won't be motivated. They won't be motivated anymore. They will leave before me, but that was a mistake.
Okay. Now, do you believe? Because I really like that comment you said. I don't want to work for a large corporation. I did that, as you know. And of course, the older you become, the maturer you become, and you have to be really honest with yourself to know what is the best environment where you fit in. I mean, do you believe that working for a startup, when you get over 40 plus, for instance, can you still work for a startup?
Sure.
There is no, because sometimes I see these companies like hiring all these 20-year plus, and I don't know, it's just
a good mix is not bad. Having a few of the no hairs or grayer hairs in the company is not a bad thing, especially when you're doing enterprise software.
Yeah.
Where it's a people per business, and where the people at a large company or government organization are typically also going to be older, and it's difficult to relate as young kids to the older people. Is what the hell? And it's helpful to have some older people there that can better relate on a personal level.
I understand.
But the mix, young and old, is really important.
Now, you just had your birthday 1 week ago. Within 10 years, you're still a VC?
Yeah, a part-time VC, a semi-retired VC probably, yes. And perhaps also doing some projects that are, non-financially motivated, because I will have the time, the kids will be gone. I will probably not be really wanting to work all day long, but I'm saying that now. I will still be working. Perhaps
yeah, of course,
not full-time.
Of course, yeah. But you say non-financially, so this means for companies or more for like good causes?
Good causes, yeah.
Okay, interesting. And so what is still for you a crazy dream for you that you didn't do?
Any dreams? No, the biggest dream I have is to stay healthy for 20 more years and have happy kids.
That's very nice. Is there something that you want to say that we didn't talk about that you think is interesting for the audience, Frank?
Well, that's a difficult question, Peter. Live life to the fullest, I think. If you have a certain talent, use it. If you have limitations, as you say, I know what I cannot do. That's the benefit of being older. When you're young, you think you can do everything. At a certain time, you accept. That's also something with advice people, accept the things you cannot do. And I've learned to live with the things I cannot do. I know multiple things I cannot do, and I don't do them because I know I'm going to suck at it anyway. So I think I'm good at being a VC, but there's some other things that I'm not good at. I'm not a good people person, for example. So I know I don't need to do these things. I'm not a motivational speaker, for example. I am good at explaining what a VC is and so forth, but I'm not a motivational people. So personal athletics would be a stupid thing for me to do. I would look at it. So know your limitations and work on the things
and
try to grow.
And focus on your strengths, because you cannot work
focus
on your
on
weaknesses.
Your strengths and accept your limitations, because nobody's perfect.
Yeah, that's actually the biggest lesson I learned from you, and it was last year, because I was always having that typical belief that in an organization you have to go up. You start at the bottom and then you have to go up to becoming the boss of the company. Because maybe that's how I was trained in university. I don't know where I get that belief. Because I was quite, I wouldn't say angry at you when you told me, yeah, you're good sales. I'm like, Frank, I don't want to be in sales or a business anymore. You really said, you need to embrace that. That's your strength. And I'm really grateful that you said that to me and gave me that mirror, because you're true. It's true. And and once you accept that, you let go of all the other things that you're trying to force, and then you're happy the way it is, because and then you see also other people forcing things which they are not, and then they struggle, of course.
I've always known you as very ambitious, but you're a great sales guy, and I think you would hate every single day being a CEO, because then you have to deal with boards, board packs, financials. Knowing you, that's not something you like.
I mean, even today, creating complicated Excels, they know that in the company I work for, they have teams for that. That's not my thing anymore. It's maybe because I'm getting older, but it's sucking energy.
It's sucking, because people have also pushed me when you raised the new funds. Why don't you raise 200 million?
Yeah.
I said, I don't know if I can raise 200 million. I don't know if I would be good at it. I don't know if it would be great to having a bigger team. I like working with smaller teams. You need to do later stage investings, which I have not a lot of affection with. So let's just continue doing what I'm doing. I'm happy to raise. We raised, the previous fund was 55. I would be happy with another 50 million fund. It doesn't have, more is not always better. No, because that guy, not got a name here, an incredible entrepreneur. He also had a company that went nowhere. He did he sold a few companies, made a lot of money, invested in a few projects that didn't work out, lost the money. I said, my God, what are you going to do now? Create a new company, make money again, lose it again? I don't know, we'll see. But that's the definition of a true entrepreneur.
Yeah, but that's the same with Jonas. His joy, it's about the journey. He really enjoys I have a little bit of this. How can I create a little bit more of that? And it's not about, I want to just, have money. No, it's really about money and then investing again and enjoying that part of, you don't know upfront if your decisions is going to be right. And it's that game, that infinite game, like Simon Sinek calls it, that you get the power of. And then there is no destination. It's that journey. And that's where the fulfillment comes.
Because if you reach the destination, what then?
But that's the thing, that's the thing, Once you have been on the moon, what's next?
Well, there's nothing left.
I mean, that's... Frank, I want to be... I'm very grateful. Thank you very much for the conversation.
It's always a pleasure talking to you, Peter.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely,
because
thank you for this.
It's not a typical conversation you normally have with... and because, that's what I like, of course.
That's how I know you, Peter.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Good luck. Bye-bye. Stay healthy.